So we're going to talk about the superego, right? So these impulses make you begin to create rules which you think are healthy for you because since you don't have them, you don't want to confront your reality or your truth or what has hurt you. You start saying, well, I'm never going to talk about it. I don't want someone to talk to me like this. I'm going to get violent or I'm going to react abruptly. So you start your super ego, which if you have a good super ego where there are healthy rules will help you control your instincts. But when you live on that side where it's impulsive, negative and destructive, then you start to harvest rules that are not healthy, that are going to even increase and justify your ID. So there, of course, then there is the great danger because no, one must not create rules so he feels more. One has to create rules, not analyzing why he feels that way, and reason and bring that information to the ego so that the ego can discern what it gains or loses. Being impulsive by your instinct or being rational, then here comes the good. The thing is that here it comes, it has already become something more than to see if you don't try when you go. If you don't try it, it creates, grows and generates for your superego to generate another person for you. Not another personality, but a super reality. Let's say fictitious, because you create another personality in another way of acting that is not right. Absolutely correct. And here's why you feel this way.
Because you didn't treat the other IT, I insist, primitive.
You let your IT develop to the point it influences your mindset, defending it and shielding it, when in reality your ego is what truly needs protection. Because the ego is the one that personality identity is not based on the ego, the super ego or the IT, but the ego. In other words, your decisions create your personality. Why? Because as the ego begins to make healthy decisions, people identify you by your actions.
Sure.
So here comes the detail. So, for example, I don't know if you've ever heard David say,
oh, they just have to accept me as I am because that's who I am.
No, well, there is a justification of your superego for one, because your IT is bad and what you want is to give it one.
Exactly. This leads to strong likelihood of such occurrences.
I don't change and I justify the fact of saying, no, I am like that. And they have to accept me. That is acceptance. That is, I create a superego
To Santiago.
to justify behavior that's inappropriate and undeveloped in nature.
Exactly then, when you realize, for example, when one talks to a person, one can quickly identify if that person is going through something that hurts him, but he has created as a layer that he believes no one sees it.
But people, for example, when you talk to a resentful person, that is you, the first thing they bring to light is their pain.
Sure, right?
So, what is he trying to say when a person talks about their pain and so you are a stranger?
Certainly, she's attempting to rationalize actions.
Sure, but also what he wants to tell you is that it no longer tolerates being like that either, but people sometimes don't know how to ask for help or they don't know what they have, that there are alternatives, not that there may be a therapy that can help them organize their thoughts and emotions. No, then unfortunately there is a lot of ignorance. And that ignorance leads you to suppress yourself even more because you think the immediate thought arises, why am I like this? But the deeper question lies in uncovering the causes behind such behavior.
Indeed, when this fundamental questioning is absent, one can unintentionally spiral into irrationality under the false pretense of normalcy.
This aspect is key as it correlates to discussions on the superego. This psychological construct embodies societal rules.
It is the laws, for example, the traffic laws that must be respected, the laws of not killing, what society has imposed, what the family has imposed as rules, not the culture and the environment in which you grow up. makes that there are so many unestablished rules, consciously, unconsciously too. No.
Of course, but this could also make the same people here in this interaction also put them like the rules of society or what we said, such as our awareness that good and bad are right. And this superego is going to depend on each person.
It's entirely individual and depends heavily on specific circumstances.
It will depend on the environment in which you develop. Whether what you consider good, your superego will consider good, but for you or for me, it will be bad.
Sure, but here is the big difference because one can have established rules. But the beautiful thing about conscience is that conscience, regardless of your convictions, is going to tell you whether this is good or bad. In other words, consciousness knows that it is black or white. There's no term for that in
Change here, you justify.
so exactly what the superego, the subconscious does is because I give you an example, right? Suppose you have a son, David, and your son accidentally runs over and kills someone you don't. So the first thing that comes to mind, son runs away, but while you believe that rule, your conscience is telling you, you know?
That's wrong.
Exactly. Then here that is Sigmund Freud doesn't talk about that of consciousness always giving you black and white for you to choose. But we debate in our subconscious. There is always a constant battle. No, but conscience is like the clarifier, like the judge. Look, you've debated, you've justified yourself. You already created what you wanted.
Are you wrong?
But here it is, presenting both the good and the bad. Now it's up to you to decide what suits you best.
Help us continue to embrace these human experiences and explore more about ourselves and others by just subscribing. If you like our content, definitely like, comment, share it. But also, if you want to be part of our podcast, all you have to do is leave a comment and tell us what you want to talk about. Remember, this is the platform for the people, and we're here to explore those life experiences that are very unique to you and to everyone else. Don't forget, subscribe.
And then, as if to go on putting things in order, go all primitive, and if you don't treat it, this is going to generate walls, justifications.
Then,
Also justified.
will it influence you to create superegos that defend your impulses?
So, and the superego goes to, though it won't provide sustenance, it relies heavily on the vigor of your conscience for its influence.
Indeed, it's entirely up to you.
And it depends on your conscience. You are going to generate justifying superegos of one, and that you have not tried, and therefore you create a person.
That he's always going to act wrong? Exactly like all his.
Instincts and all his behaviors will be on the surface, let's say not on the surface, but he will always act in a chaotic way.
Not unpredictable either, because I'll give you an example, David. You and I grew up in a bad, poor neighborhood. And for example, people who were bad never touched us. They had a rule towards the community where they existed, right? Why? Because I saw them as people around me, people who belong to me. So therefore, not to these, but to these, yes. But within themselves, they knew. That is their consciousness. I knew when I stole outside it was wrong. No, but protecting, not stealing from people here. Here comes the superhero. I'm going to create that rule so that this community sees me as a pleasant and good person. Not that I'm part of them, but I'm going to commit my crimes outside and everyone knows I commit them. But there's the detail. In other words, you are the same way. You decided badly, even if you decided not to harm your community. Because in itself, you indirectly harm your community by giving the community a bad reputation in itself.
Come. That's why, as we were talking, I created a parallel rule where the superego bypasses it.
That's like a hard bypass like that.
I do a bypass where I say, yes, I decide when it's right, when it's wrong, but the only thing it does is feed. Let's describe it. A certain behavior or mannerism
It is.
that you can control is something that at the time can be very explosive, how to say it?
Very unstable exactly exists. They create their instability. That's why, for example, most people, we know that what have they done? They have had this lifestyle. What did they do with drugs, alcohol?
And all those elections were volatile.
Exactly at that moment, they sought a neutral ground, a place to feel safe, vulnerable, or at ease through specific practices, while avoiding situations where they might feel completely detached or deeply unconscious. Those are the traumas that can be caused to themselves when they have poor justification.
Help us continue to embrace these human experiences and explore more about ourselves and others by just subscribing. If you like our content, definitely like, comment, share it. But also, if you want to be part of our podcast, all you have to do is leave a comment and tell us what you want to talk about. Remember, this is the platform for the people, and we're here to explore those life experiences that are very unique to you and to everyone else. Don't forget to subscribe.